Hello and welcome to this new episode of Open Book Entrepreneur. Today we have Barbara Diaz here with us. She is a trauma educator and also Army veteran as well. So Barbara, please introduce yourself to our audience.
Hi, thank you so much again for having me, Tony. Yes, my name is Barbara Diaz, and I am the founder of the Living Garden Framework. I'll talk about that more, but I am an Army veteran of 9 years, a mom of two. I am a sociology researcher, and I am currently earning my master's degree in transformative education and learning. And so, what the Living Garden Framework is, it's a trauma informed curriculum that I created. It started from my own childhood trauma and also being a survivor of domestic violence. And I took my education in sociology and psychology, my lived experience, and I created a curriculum to help other people understand the root of the behavior from the lens of sociology, specifically attachment styles.
That's great. Yeah. Also, so how did you end up in this line of business?
Yeah, so I'm 40 years old, and I would just like to say, honestly, my lived experience dealing with surviving trauma. So, attachment styles is a sociology theory. And I discovered that when I survived a very traumatic marriage, and along with my education at the time. And so it was just my 40 years lived experience, and then also going to school. It all seemed to happen at the same time. I was surviving a very traumatic marriage, at the same time learning about patterns and behaviors around the world. And that's what sociology teaches. Also, being a mom of two neurodivergent children, one has ADHD, one has autism. And I, did a lot of deep diving into how to help them succeed. I learned and kind of had the aha moment that we all have trauma, some layer of trauma, and that in order to successfully heal that trauma, we need to integrate our biology. So, what I would say our somatic healing, our education, and our psychology, and we need to integrate that together to successfully heal. Attachment styles is something I discovered by honestly just Googling how do we have emotions. Sometimes we have them, we don't know where they come from, and they derive from a very deep place, and it is our childhood. Oftentimes, our trauma is not even considered trauma. Right now, we are in a world where we don't recognize emotional neglect and emotional abuse as trauma. It becomes a label of being too needy. Women typically are too needy or controlling. Men are too toxic or they are damaged. Children, a lot of times children don't even have their emotions recognized. They're just a lot of times we kind of compartmentalize our human being, meaning that we start off as children and then that ends. We become teenager and that ends, and then we become adults and that ends. And we don't see or we don't recognize that it bleeds together. So if we are mistreated as children, or we are emotionally neglected as children, it will seep through all the way to adulthood. And then the patterns and behaviors in our relationships carries on, and that's why oftentimes as adults, I'm 40 years old, we are faced with the same patterns and behaviors of why is it that I'm still having conflict in a marriage? Or why is it that I am not successful in romantic relationships? Or why am I having issues at work? Conflict and behaviors, patterns and recognitions. I love human behavior. I love the study of it. And I always say, like a Rubik's Cube in my education, I learned about different theories. So Sigmund and Freud, the idea of the subconscious mind and the conscious mind, attachment theory, Eric Erickson's 8 stages of development. And I did I teach with a lot of analogy and also practical like tools. So the living garden framework is, the garden, and the apple is trauma, the onions, the tree, the root, the generational patterns. And so the garden, and even it ties into my spirituality with God, the Garden of Eden. So I ended up taking all these theories and recognizing my own patterns and behaviors in my childhood and this marriage, and also another marriage I was in. Also, the way my children were behaving and the things that they were coming home with, and then also helping them with their, special needs. And I took literally like a Rubik's cube, and I almost enmeshed all these theories together. And I was like, I have the perfect formula to help people understand behavior with all of these theories. And then I just kind of spinned it with my own, spin of using teachable tools, like visual tools, like an apple, an onion, and I stretch emotional intelligence, like kind of like slime, and I stretch it so that people can understand that it is not their faults, their behaviors, their bad behaviors, the labels that we impose on people, our society imposes on us. It isn't our faults, and we can work at it instead and remove the shame and the blame. So just a lot of lived experience, and then also I love school. And I am a sponge, and I just want to help everyone, because it helped me tremendously survive suicide ideation, a lot of anxiety, PTSD, and I just think it's something that I should share with the world.
Totally, yes. And then on top of that, what are the typical problems that your potential clients are facing before they start working with you? And what sort of transformation you provide for them?
I think there's a couple of things. I would say, honestly, depending on the community resources, obviously I provide a service and I would love to monetize it. My biggest dream is to be able to have this curriculum in structure. So my mind thinks in big structures, meaning because I am a veteran and I work also for the federal government, I think in big umbrellas. So and then that also ties into like the micro and the macro. So I would love to integrate this curriculum into school system and organizations so that it could trickle to the people. Because I obviously am one person with all these thoughts and this curriculum, and I develop the curriculum and I teach it. So my biggest dream is to be able to have this affordable and accessible to everyone. I don't think that anyone should miss out on healing and understanding behavior based on income or resources. And also parent, the buy-in of parents and caregivers, and because when we do this work, attachment styles start off at the idea of how you attach to a person, or how you integrate your patterns and behaviors in relationships. And so then when you learn about attachment styles, you also learn about how it formed. It was formed in your childhood. From 0 to 2 years old, your attachment style is formed. So literally, you're just a baby, and your attachment style is born from your caregiver. So if you recognize that you have a very disorganized attachment style, then you start to think, well, who gave it to me? Well, my caregiver. And then you have to dig into that past. So I say everything starts with self, and then you have to go into your past to go into address the present and then head into your future. So it's a bit of, the resources, being able to have this for everyone, and then also destigmatizing it, so that we understand that this wasn't our fault. This was actually passed down from our ancestors, our generations. If you want to go deeper, the war, the way that society has deemed and kind of molded men to be very specific and women to be very specific in our roles. And it was just passed down to our present generation. And if we don't address it now, it's just going to progressively get worse. So I would love to see, or I think the idea is to remove the shame and the blame, And that takes a lot of courage, really, honestly, courage, self-awareness. It takes courage to become very self-aware, because there are going to be things that come up like, oh, I messed up. So, money, resources, and to help everyone. And then, of course, the courage for everyone to be able to do this work. So I try to make it as fun as possible as a teacher, and then also something that they can take home. And the transformation is honestly the freedom that you get to understand that you can take away these labels and this heaviness of survival, and that you can progress into something beautiful, like somatic healing, regulating your nervous system, and then also shedding things like are a lot of illnesses that we have, PTSD, anxiety, for parents to finally understand their children, for parents to heal relational work with their own siblings and parents. So, really, transformation within and outward. And hopefully, the entire world is the transformation that I would love to see.
Great, yeah. And then if people want to get in touch with you, Barbara, or learn more about you or connect to you, how they can do that?
Yeah, so my website is www.thelivinggardenframework.com. I am launching, as I work in systems, I am launching the Living Garden University, because I trademarked the curriculum, but I think as it being one curriculum, but also it's going to turn into books, developmental tools. I need a hub. So it's going to be the university, the Living Garden University, the Living Garden framework on Facebook. So definitely, and then Barbara Diaz on LinkedIn. So I want to make sure that, as um, this gets kind of put into the world, I don't change too much the name so I don't confuse people. But for right now, it's the livinggardenframework.com. And then, of course, I'm on Facebook and LinkedIn. So, and then, of course, I can give you the information, and maybe you can attach it to this interview so people can visually see it.
Totally, totally. I mean, we're definitely going to include the links in the description of this episode.
Yeah.
So, anyone's watching us, you can just check out the links in the description, and they'll be there. And then on top of that, Barbara, so what's one major thing that you are sort of excited about in terms of things that you do?
Yes, so much. I mean, I feel like this year has just been phenomenal. I am in my master's program, so I am working on that. I will graduate May 2027 with my master's in education. And then right after that, I will go in for my PhD. So, I anticipate being Dr. Diaz by 20, what are we in 26, 2030. So that's super. I would be the first generation in my family. Another exciting thing is that so these are more personal. I was able to reconnect with my family. So my trauma was very severe. And in healing myself and then, creating this curriculum, I went back home. I hadn't spoken to my mother since 2019. And unfortunately, that had to happen for my own self-preservation and of my children. But I did return home, and we have a beautiful relationship. So I'm rebuilding those relationships. Through that, I decided to do a fun journey of finding my ancestors and my lost long family. I am from Puerto Rican descent. I was born in Puerto Rico, but I was not raised there. And so I have family sporadically everywhere. So I'm going on this cool journey to find my family. This is a labor of love and a love letter to myself and my children so that they can feel whole. And this business is my baby. It is my brain and my heart all interconnected together. And I'm putting it on paper and on the internet and on interviews. And I'm just excited for this next year. I have another podcast from a wonderful woman in Spain. Thank you for the opportunity. And then I have another expo in October where I am supporting a mother who lost her child to suicide, her teenage son to suicide. And so that is my biggest love that I can give to the world is supporting families who are dealing with adolescents that are not understanding their behavior. We are all dealing with some level of survival and trauma, and I'm just here to, just kind of dig through the roots and kind of being like, hey, this is the source of the pain. Let's fix it. So that's what I'm excited for.
Wonderful. Barbara, thank you so much for being guest today.
Thank you.
Thank you all for watching, listening to this episode. If you liked it, drop us a like, subscribe. If you have any questions for Barbara or me, you can ask them in the comments. We'll be more than happy to answer those. And yeah, as I mentioned, Barbara, thanks so much. Yeah, it was great
Thank
having you.
you. Yes, thank you. Have a great day.
Same to you. Bye bye.